Right, welcome ladies and gents. We've got some new information on Victoria Alonso exiting from Marvel. It's quite shocking, actually. Sounds like she was thrown under the bus, although I will say, not for any, not for any unjust reason. She's not exactly a great individual. She is, interesting. Interesting. As president of VFX and post-production, among other things, she is responsible for a lot of stuff. However, Kevin Feige didn't intervene. She was, for lack of a word, or for lack of a better word, being groomed to be his replacement at one point. So, this is all very interesting stuff. We'll dive into this today. Please do hit subscribe, turn your notifications on, and join the channel if you want as a member. You get benefits and all that jazz. But, ladies and gents, let's dive into this. Again, like I said, this came out of nowhere. This was like last Friday. It's almost a week now, and we're still learning little bits of information. There's been no official word from anyone, no official statements that have been given out. Not a stretch that that's the case, but still, you'd think someone would come out and say something. You think someone would come out and say something at the very least, but no, nothing at all. For those who don't know, Victoria Alonso has been with the company for I think it was 17 years or something like that. Very, very long time. Pre-Disney days. Pre-Disney purchasing Marvel. That's how long she's been a Marvel executive. Back when Marvel was above a Mercedes dealership. Yeah, so long, storied history with the company. She has brought so many issues for the company, though. Being the fact that she waded into the Ron DeSantis Disney issue, with Bob Chapek and what was touted as the Don't Say Gay bill. She pushed for Bob Chapek to intervene in that and say stuff, public statements, which has now led Disney down a pretty shocking path, quite frankly. So, she's an idiot for that. And not only this, is that she also made ridiculous statements. If anyone remembers I think it was 2 years ago or so now, there was a quote floating around about how X-Men is a rather outdated term because there's women on the team. Yeah, well, that was from Victoria Alonso. She's wokest of the woke. And she was head of VFX and post-production. President of VFX and post-production. Apparently a bully and toxic as well. So, not a great individual. Not a great individual. But let's take a look. So, Variety, this year's Academy Awards, Victoria Alonso was overwhelmed. Why was she overwhelmed? Well, Argentina, 1985, was stopped on the red carpet. She was posing for photographers assigned to capture top executives on Hollywood's big night, but something shocked her. Look at this, 2 women, Alonso said, of the female photographers hired for the gig. As in most corners of Hollywood, women are outnumbered by men on the photo line. Emotional, Alonso insisted that the pair put down their cameras and pose for a photo with her in front of a giant Oscar statuette. As they all smiled, she told them, "We've worked so hard to get here, and we're not going anywhere." Famous last words. Anyway, 8 days later, she was fired as Marvel's president of physical production, post-production, VFX, and animation. 3 individuals familiar with the matter told Variety the shake-up came as a surprise to many in show business and within the vast Marvel comic book fandom, a community with a prominent online presence and an in-person significance at the many multiplexes where the studio releases its films. So basically, no one had any idea this was happening. Alonso's dismissal has raised numerous questions about behind-the-scenes workings at the prized content engine, and with them, another unfavourable news cycle as Disney CEO Bob Iger attempts to stabilise its parent company amid economic unrest. You can't escape this stuff. Next, Kathleen Kennedy should be fired, which she should have been fired a long time ago. But this is Disney and its subsidiary companies are a shit show. Lucasfilm is being sued, right? They've lost more creators than they have ever hired. Lucasfilm was a joke. And Marvel's on a downward spiral. Ant-Man 3 is a huge bomb. So while the cause of Alonso's termination is unclear, sources said the decision was made by a consortium including human resources. Now, that adds a lot of weight to the previous statements that VFX houses had come out against her and said she is a tyrant. She's a bully and she is toxic. If HR is involved, interesting. And also Disney's legal department and multiple executives including Disney Entertainment co-chairman Alan Bergman, to whom all of Marvel Studios reports. Alonso's longtime boss and Marvel Chief Creative Officer Kevin Feige felt mired in an impossible situation and ultimately did not intervene, one source added. Alonso was blindsided, another insider added. It just sounds like the chickens have come home to roost. Kevin Feige couldn't intervene. It's an impossible situation. How do you combat... Well, this is, speculation, but how do you combat just home truths? Hey, these VFX people are complaining about you. Hey, our VFX are shit. Wow, yeah. We're bombing. Get rid of her. It's not a stretch, is it? So now, a representative for Alonso declined to provide comment for the story, and Marvel Studios had no comment. This just doesn't look good. Just address it and move on. Anyway, Alonso joined Marvel Studios in 2006, 3 years before Disney acquired the label for $4 billion. And over 17 years, she's been a fixture under Chief Creative Officer Kevin Feige, standing beside Feige's right hand and co-president Louis D'Esposito. Simultaneously, she worked to become a brand on her own, a rare openly LGBTQ person and woman of colour in a visible leadership role. Known for her fiery passion and outspokenness over diversity and inclusion in Marvel storytelling, which has not gone down very well. She has been honoured by media watchdogs and visual effects communities, that's hilarious, alike, and is about to publish a memoir about her corporate ascent, the aptly titled Possibility is Your Superpower, which is still set for release at the Disney book label Hyperion Avenue, which... an interesting tidbit of information I learned recently is that when you join Disney in any sort of shape or form at this kind of level, you sign away your memoir rights. They get final say on it all. So, yeah. Well, anyway, numerous sources familiar with Marvel pointed to the tremendous pressure that the unit has been under over the past few years to deliver compelling content, not just to theatres, but also in the form of new streaming shows intended to bolster Disney+. In 21 and 22, Marvel unloaded an unprecedented torrent of comic book adventures, releasing 17 titles, 7 movies, 8 streaming series, and 2 TV specials over 23 months. The breakneck distribution schedule, a product of the pandemic and the need to constantly feed Disney+, was not of Alonso's making. Marvel was far from the only studio tasked with delivering feature-level content for a newly launched streaming service, but it was Alonso's job to get each of those titles through Marvel's gargantuan post-production process. By the summer of 22, cracks began to show in the company's seemingly impervious armour. That's nonsense. Their VFX have been bad for like a long time. And this is the thing, however, though, is that when she took over, that's when VFX individuals started speaking out and complaining about Marvel working with them and how they handled their business. So, Reddit, there was a series of stories published across the internet. VFX artists began to loudly complain about Marvel's post-production schedules, money, how they would just demand stuff at the end of last minutes. Unrelenting overtime, chronic understaffing, and inability to avoid delivering substandard work due to constantly changing deadlines. They didn't have time to render this stuff. It was ridiculous. And then, yeah, some people did single out Alonso as a kingmaker who held a blacklist. Or a make or break list, basically. One VFX artist recently told Variety that the biggest issue for them was Marvel's inability to provide clear guidelines. And here's the quote. "The show I was on really struggled because it was an established character whose powers they were reconceiving for the MCU. So Marvel doesn't figure shit out beforehand." Brilliant. A different senior VFX artist threw cold water on the idea that Alonso would single out individual artists. The idea of a very senior executive, terrifying rank-and-file artist, per some reports, feels a bit off, they told Variety. Above the line, 3 different up-and-coming Marvel actors agreed that Alonso was only a supportive force on set. "She was the epitome of professional and knows her stuff," said one former Disney film executive. Sure. Whatever. But anyway, it's bombed. It has absolutely bombed. So, and it started happening, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania came out, loads of, they're now trying to sue Reddit and get names from Reddit. It's just a mess. It's an absolute mess. Ant-Man won't break even. It won't even break even, ladies and gents. And it's grossed $463 million and it won't even break even. Not good. Really not good. It's basically make a billion or it's a bomb. So no, there's no replacement as yet. But this is interesting stuff. It just sounds like, yeah, she is the fall guy. Again, for reasons. Absolutely for reasons. But absolutely a fall guy. So let me know what you think of this down below. Love to hear any and all of your thoughts. Blindsided. Interesting. Kevin Feige, nowhere to be found. Interesting stuff. Take care.